definitely be helping us out a lot. He's still very, very involved and passionate about the organization, and he sets us up with lots of like shadowing opportunities and lots of different volunteering events, so we're really lucky to have him. He's also the president of the Medical Student Association, so if you have any kind of questions, he's your guy, but he's always very motivational, so we'd like to hear what he has to say.
Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to BVA. I think I got here just in time to catch that video. That was very exciting to watch. That's exactly why I missed BVA. Even though I'm still kind of involved with it, it's much harder for me to be as involved now because I'm at school, so it's not work. But BVA, I promise you guys, is going to be one of the best experiences for you in undergrad. I'm not even saying that because this is my org and I started it. I really don't. This is really great org. So I wrote down, I actually prepared for you guys, so I wrote down some stuff here for you to tell you guys. I had 2 goals for today. One was to kind of give you a little more information about BVA, which, I mean, they summarize it pretty well, but I just want to give you a little bit of history behind it. And then 2, just give you some general advice about succeeding in undergrad, and then moving on to wherever you want to go to next. So how many of you guys are pre-med or pre-health, pre-nursing? Okay, that's pretty much, that's almost all of you guys. BVA is not an org exclusively for pre-health, so if you're not pre-health, this is a great org for you to be in as well. So I asked one of the officers when I came, because I didn't come at the beginning, I asked them if they played music at the beginning of the meeting, because that was one of my big things when I led it a couple years ago. And they said yes. I used to do that a lot, and I thought everyone had fun, everyone enjoyed it, it was fun. And then about the 3rd or 4th meeting into the BVA year, I decided, you know, I'm going to make my own songs. So I recorded a couple rap songs, and I played those, and I started noticing people start dropping out every week. So I'm glad that the presidents aren't rapping for you guys. Except for my bad, they kind of rapped a little bit in the video. Alright, so welcome to BVA. We changed the name, now it's Bucky Pre-Health Volunteer Association. It used to be Badger Pre-Health Volunteer Association, so if I say that during the meeting, sorry, I'm still not used to the change. To give you a little background on myself, so originally I'm from Albania, which is a tiny little country in Southeast Europe. I talk about Albania a lot, so I'm going to go get that out of the way now. And my family lives in Milwaukee now, so that's kind of my new hometown here. In undergrad, I did undergrad here. I majored in biology and did the Global Health Certificate. How many of you guys have heard of the Global Health Certificate? It's a lot of you guys. Okay, so look more into that because that's a great opportunity as well. So like I said, I'm a 2nd-year medical student at the UW, and I hope to go into cardiology, even though we don't really know exactly where because we haven't had too much exposure, but one of the reasons I want to go into cardiology is because I want to be able to save people. If they ever have a broken heart, they can just come to me because I'll fix it. Pick up line, so besides that, so now a little bit about BVA and the history of it. 2 years ago, so my sophomore year actually in undergrad, I worked at the hospital, and I was exposed to many patients, both young and old, and I was able to kind of see 2 sides of things. The young patients, fortunately, they were healthy, in good shape, you know, smiling, happy because they were the kids that would come in for regular checkups at some of the doctors at the UW or around Madison hospitals. So, you know, I liked seeing that, and I liked that they were healthy and doing the right things and being active and playing sports and whatever, eating well, their parents taking good care of them. But then the other aspect of it, I got to see a lot of very, very sick elderly patients, like 40, 50-year-olds. And the main causes, like the main pathologies that they had were like cardiovascular disease, obesity, kind of things that are very, very preventable, but that cause so much disease, hardship, and death in America, especially America. And I thought that was kind of sad seeing kind of like that disconnect between you start out young, healthy, you know, you get taught everything correctly, school tries to promote healthy eating and exercise, and etc. But then people lose that as they kind of grow up and get older. College is especially an important time period for people because I feel like the busier you guys get from high school's not that busy, you can play sports, you're very involved, but college, you get more busy with school and academics that you kind of stop taking care of yourself. And so I thought, you know, maybe there's an org on campus that kind of takes care of this problem, like this preventative care, preventative health problem where they have like health education and teaching about nutrition and diet and exercise and have opportunities for people to learn how to take care of themselves even while they're busy, for like young children in elementary schools to college students like us. And I didn't find too many orgs that had kind of this aspect to it, so that's kind of how I got the idea for BVA. When I started BVA, I wanted to do two things with it. One, to make it a strict pre-health organization that was inclusive of other majors, so not just pre-health, but like strict, the typical pre-med org that you find on college campus that has all these volunteering opportunities, connections with hospitals, etc. And then two, I really wanted to incorporate this preventative care aspect of medicine, because I feel like we don't do a good enough job in Madison, the United States in general, of kind of promoting healthy lifestyles to younger ages. And so with BVA, we got to do a few different opportunities. Our first year was amazing. I thought, well, it's because I led it, but I thought it was an amazing year just because, you know, I didn't have much experience with doing something like this, and the officers that helped me out were a great asset for me because they were so helpful throughout the year in terms of with some of the specifics, planning meetings, running events, etc. They were a huge help, and we had so many members. We had about 2,000 sign up for the fall and spring org fairs total. About like 200 actually came to at least one event, and then we had about 100 that regularly showed up, like 75 to 100. Those numbers might be slightly exaggerated. That's okay. So, you know, it was people were very enthusiastic, and that kind of inspired me. That made me happy that so many people kind of saw the vision that I had too. So, continuing with that and seeing kind of what BVA has become today. And last year I wasn't involved as much as I could have been because I was in med school. But the officers did a great job again of leading it. And some of the events that the current officers even hosted for the summer, like the trip in Central America, that's an amazing experience. That's something I've always wanted to do, but never really had the chance to kind of create for BVA. So I really, really like the direction that BVA has taken recently and is going to be taking. And with me in med school now and kind of being president of the med school or med student association, I'm going to be a huge help to you guys because I'm going to connect you with as many opportunities as possible. And even last year I tried doing that too. Usually doctors love integrating like undergrads into some of their events or workshops or speaking for them. So anytime they come to one of our MSA meetings, which is the Medical Student Association meetings, and they ask like, well, maybe there's a free health org on campus and we can participate with. And I always say BVA, BVA, BVA every time. And they always ask me like, well, I'm sure there's more than one. I'm like, no, all the other orgs are canceled. It's just BVA. If you're a member of another free health org, don't tell the presidents that. You might get in trouble. But anyways, so I will do my best using like my schedule to connect you to as many exposing like opportunities for you guys so you can get a taste of what medicine's like. You might not be pre-med now, but you might do a couple volunteering opportunities at the hospital or at the med school and just absolutely love it, and that might change your life. You're welcome. Let's see if I'm missing anything else about the history of it. So that kind of sums it up, and I don't want to go too much in detail on that because that might be a little boring. But the big thing is that preventative care aspect. That's what I really, really, really found kind of to be passionate about when I started BVA, and I hope that we continue that as much this year. But the number one thing that we need is inspired members to volunteer, and I'm happy seeing this size crowd today, and I hope you guys are just as involved as the members were last year and the year before that. So last year, or a couple years ago, I'd always tell the other officers, you know guys, I'm really, really considering getting a BVA tattoo like on my arm or something. No one ever believed me, and everyone was kind of like laughed it off, but check this out. Just kidding. The president was like, oh my God. But that doesn't mean that one of these days, you know, who knows, I may show up with a big fat tattoo like on my cheek of BVA. So I really, really do love the work that much, and I'm very passionate about this work. So I hope that you guys can see that the officers are super passionate, and this will inspire you to be just as passionate about volunteering. All right, to give you guys a taste of like another event that we did with BVA, we had a Concert Against Cancer event both years that we ran it. So Concert Against Cancer is a fundraiser event where we raise money for cancer research. And my dad would come to every year to speak for BVA and speak about his experience with cancer. He had been battling pancreatic cancer for 7 years. Pancreatic cancer, for some of you guys that don't really know too much about it, but it's one of the worst cancers to have. And the prognosis usually isn't too good. It's about 6 months that patients are expected to live after their original diagnosis, which is really horrible prognosis. But he was able to make it 7 years, past that. And he'd come to these events and kind of speak to some of the members. And that was the best memory I have of BVA because I felt like it inspired some of the members. And other things that we did, we had different musical performers come and perform in order to kind of make the event more attractive. And one of the performers was me. I'd rap in front of the group. And then my dad would come, so my dad would give a speech, and very touching and inspirational. And he goes sit down, and then I come up and like give a little more presentation about the event, what we're doing, and I'm sure he was very, very kind of proud of all this pre-med stuff I was doing and org stuff I was doing. But then when I announced like, all right, then time for me to perform a couple rap songs, I just couldn't really imagine like what he was thinking. And seeing me perform out there, I'm sure he was thinking like, wow, that could have been a career that he could have chased. So anyways, that's one of my favorite activities, and we hope to have that again this year for you guys, so look forward to that. So on to the second goal that I have for you guys. I want to try to give you guys some of the best tips and advice that I've gathered throughout undergrad and throughout med school. These aren't going to be, some of them might sound kind of like general tips, but just listen very closely and pay attention, because I feel like if you follow these general guidelines, you will be successful no matter what field you're going to go into. All right. So the first thing is going to sound very broad in general. It's basically, if you want it, you will get it. If you want to do something, you will do something. That's not, I hear that all the time from people that always say that, like when motivational speakers come and speak or doctors speak, they always say like, if you want to get into med school, you will get into med school. But I've come to realize that if you want to do something 100%, I promise you, you can do it. There's a formula that if you want to go to med school, for example, there's a formula. If you work hard, you're going to get grades. If you work hard and you don't get excellent grades, you get solid grades. That's good enough. That's what you need. And then if you're involved, that's good enough. That's what you need. Nothing can stop you from getting into med school or nursing or pharmacy or whatever school, except for you and how hard you work. If you just convince yourself in your mind, if you just tell yourself, you know, I can get into med school, I have a 100% chance of getting into med school, I just gotta work. Just work and kind of follow that instruction for yourself, and you will get into med school. When you apply to med school, there's hundreds, there's like 200 med schools in the country, maybe more now, because you know there's new ones every day. Somebody's gonna want you, no matter what. Like, you're gonna have the right combination for some school. You just gotta keep pushing it. And sometimes you might kind of be down and be like, oh, this is a lot of work. You know, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, but just grind it out, because I promise you, once you get into that program that you've been looking so much, so forward to getting into, you're gonna really, really, really be appreciative that you kept pushing yourself. So some days you will feel like, oh, this is just a lot. Just keep going through the system, keep going through the cycle, and push yourself, and then you will make it to where you want to go to. I know that sounds general. I'll get some more specifics later, but that's kind of the main thing. If you don't do that, if you don't convince yourself that you can do something, you're not going to be able to do it. All right. Second, the majority of you guys want to be pre-health, whatever. So doctor, nurse, pharmacists. You cannot take care of anyone else if you don't take care of yourself. All this training, all these like events that you guys are attending, all these experiences you guys have, they're not going to matter if you're 40 and are prone to having a heart attack and you put your life at risk. You got to take care of yourself so that you can do something with what you learned throughout undergrad. That's especially important in college. Like I was saying, college is a time where you kind of push aside some of those, health habits, healthy life habits that your parents taught you when you were younger. But don't do that. I wish I would have learned this lesson even earlier. Throughout college, I did exercise a lot. I ate well. But one thing that I didn't do as well is incorporate exercising, for example, into my daily routine. So how I would do it is I'd study for however many hours, and then at the end of studying, my reward would be like, oh, okay, I'm going to go and exercise now. A better thing to do is to put in a few good hours of work and tell yourself, I have this much allotted time to doing this, and then from this time to this time, I'm going to exercise, and then I'm going to get back at it. If you exercise between studying or in the morning or whatever, you'll feel so much greater, so much more kind of like, active in your studying later on. And that's something that people always tell you, incorporate exercise, incorporate it. But until you actually do it in a routinely manner, you won't understand the benefits of it. It's amazing. I didn't do this as much my first year. I kind of did the same thing as undergrad. My first year of med school, I kind of did the same thing as undergrad. But now this year, I'm doing this a lot more where I'm like studying for 79 hours straight and then take a half-hour break playing soccer or basketball. I'm just kidding, by the way. Take a half-hour break or an hour break, and then I feel ready to study again. Incorporate it into your schedule. All right. Besides that, I wonder if there's a whiteboard here. Oh no. All right. So I'm going to teach you about something that you guys might learn in some of your science classes. Hopefully you can see. But you have 24 hours in a day. Have you guys ever heard of the circadian rhythm? Yeah? Okay, so the circadian rhythm, it won't align as well with this, but I'll just say like this is like 8 a.m. This is your morning time, for example. With circadian rhythm, your hormones kind of have this elevation of stress hormones, so your cortisol level goes up in the mornings a lot. That's when it's highest during your entire 24-hour cycle. So our bodies are biologically programmed to function this way. So you have a lot of hormones, like stress hormones, that keep you very aware, like very aware and awake at 8 a.m. And then it goes, fluctuates a little bit here and then a little bit here, and then when you're sleeping, it's down and it goes back up again. So the highest amount of cortisol that you'll have running in your system is going to be in the morning. So that means, this is kind of like one of my biggest secrets. I'm giving this to you, so that means in the morning, if you could find a couple hours, if you have class at 10 a.m. for example, or 11, or if you have class early and have free time from 10 to 12, if you could find a couple hours in the morning to do some hardcore study, just straight studying for a couple 2 hours, you will do more than you will do in the afternoon or evening. Let's say it'll take you like 4 hours to do whatever you do in the morning. It's a big difference, trust me. It's biological, our bodies are kind of organized to run this way, so take advantage of your mornings. That's a big, big tip in terms of productivity. There's absolutely no science behind this. This is just something I learned from some of my science classes that I'm like, okay, awareness awake, very high in the morning. Then I switched my study schedule where I studied mostly in the morning, take a break around like 1 or 2, and then study a little in the afternoon, take a break around 5 or 6. And it's working like a charm this year for me. So I'm not sure if this is the reason why, but I really, really, really think it is. Who knows, maybe I'll do a study someday for this. Take advantage of the mornings. That's a little more specific tip, so hopefully that's a little more helpful than if you want it, you can get it. All right. Third, actually. This is kind of something when people always ask me, actually I'm going to say that for later, because I think that's probably the most important point out of all these. The other kind of broad tip that might sound like a broad piece of advice that I think is really effective when you really think about it is work as hard now as you're going to be working when you get into the next level of whatever. So if you're planning to go to med school or nursing school, if you work as hard in undergrad as you will be working when you're in nursing or med school, you will do phenomenal in undergrad. So put in those extra hours. Go and shadow a med student or nursing or pharmacy student or a student of graduate school and see kind of like what they're doing and how much studying they're putting into it. And if you can kind of even 75% match that level of studying and effort and management, you will do phenomenal in undergrad. So kind of always think ahead to the next level. If you can do enough to survive the next level in the level before, you'll do fine. Does that make sense? All right. This is also something else that puts it in a little different perspective. So I have 2 more points for you guys. As you're going throughout undergrad, you really want to form like a theme about your life and yourself, and kind of think about it as if you're writing like a little Wikipedia story about yourself. So you know, like those Wikipedia biographies where it's like blah blah blah, was born, did all this great stuff, and then whatever. You don't want your story to be, if you search yourself on Wikipedia when you were 80 or whatever, and if you've just read like, oh, John Doe was born in 1990, died 80 years later. That's not a life. Find a theme, make some great accomplishments. As you're going through undergrad, think like, what should I be doing? What do I want to read when I'm 80 and Wikipedia about myself? And then you'll do fine. I think that advice will take you beyond kind of some of your just basic goals, because it'll push you to go that extra mile. Do something great with your life. You only have so many years on this planet and so many years in college, especially 4 years. These 4 years are about you guys. After this, it's going to be about your family, your kids, wife, whatever, husband. But these 4 years are about you guys, so don't waste these 4 years. They're very important. Not everyone gets the opportunity to be where you guys are at. And then finally, people always ask me kind of, just because I love giving a lot of advice, obviously, but people always ask me like, what's the best piece of advice that you've given someone? And I never change my answer about what the best piece of advice that I can give someone is. And that is to give the people that have helped you get to where you are today, give them the love and attention that they deserve. There is absolutely nothing more important than that. These people are going to be the ones that are going to help you get to the next level. Okay, they brought you here. It wasn't all about your work in high school. You guys obviously know that. It was your family, your friends, everyone that loved and supported you. They brought you here. Give them the same attention that they give you and the same love that they give you, because without them, you're not going to go much further past this, you know? And I'm fortunate enough that my parents taught me that lesson at a very, very young age. So I've always kind of like tried to be proactive and active in terms of kind of thinking about others and like, how can I make that person's day a little brighter? Like if I see one of my friends down, like what can I do to kind of like bring them up? Or even if it's just a normal day, like how can I make their day a little brighter than it is? Just always have that in mind. You have to be a little active, because you know, normally we're just going throughout our days, it's like me. Just like take a couple of things and be like, you know what can I do for that person? And the benefit of that is tremendous, and I've learned the benefit of that this past year. So at the end of my first year of med school, kind of the week before our final exams, unfortunately my father did pass away from pancreatic cancer after 7 years. Like I said, we were thankful that we had him for so long. But after 7 years, he passed away, and he was the closest person to me in my entire life. And all the students in my school knew that, because they know how much I spoke about him and how much I shared some of the things that we did on Facebook, or like even events when I talked about his speeches here or whatever. So everyone knew how much of an inspiration he was to me. So my dean came and visited me in Milwaukee, my family, during that hard time, and which to me it was like mind-blowing that the dean of the med school came to see me. That kind of support is tremendous, and how much that made me want to give back to them and to my dean and to the students. But when I got back, I wanted to take my final exam so I could be done with the year with med school, so I could go back and be with my family. But when I got back to med school, like I said, I missed the whole week of school, and that was like the week before final exam, so I was obviously very underprepared. And the first year's pass-fail, but to pass the class, you have to get 80% or above, which is very hard, as you guys can imagine. But my classmates, they came to my apartment, and for every morning, lunch, and dinner, they brought me food so that I wouldn't have to cook instead, so I could use that time to study and try to catch up on some of the materials. I would not have passed my first year if it wasn't for my classmates. And seeing that kind of, those kind of actions really inspire you. These are your classmates, these are your kind of friends too. The University of Wisconsin does a great job of selecting these kind of students. And there's amazing students on our campus, so become good friends with them, support them, because someday you're going to need their support, no matter what. We're not invincible, we all go through life-changing events. I've never gone through a hardship like that in my entire life, and I never would have made it through that period if it wasn't for my friends and my family that supported me. And besides that, use kind of some of your work and some of your accomplishments and successes to fuel your parents to work hard as well, because they will fuel you in return. And an example from that might sound a little not as good right now, but with my dad, he was the biggest inspiration for me to go into medicine and study hard. I didn't really want to go into medicine until I started spending more time with the doctors that were taking care of him when he was originally diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So I was there to support him and obviously try to do whatever I could, and that kind of led me and exposed me to medicine, and that brought me to the University of Wisconsin as a pre-med student. So seeing some of the hardships that he had to go through, pushed me to go that extra mile, and seeing him give that extra resilience to fight for life, pushed me to go that extra mile. And in return, I had a lot of accomplishments, and so did my sister throughout school, and that kind of fueled him to keep going too. So do you see the kind of relationship that you can build with someone? And a lot of us have people in our lives that do go through hardships. That's unquestionable. That's definitely something that we all go through. It's a part of life. There's ups and downs. But use kind of some of those downs to fuel yourself for positivity and fuel others for positivity. I think a lot of great things can come out of hard situations. And with that, one last final thing that I want to say is, I pray to God that none of you guys ever go through a hardship like the one that I went with, losing my father. I hope that you guys don't ever lose, anyone during a time period like college where, you really got concentrated in school. But if there's someone in your family or one of your friends that is sick, that's going through something, and people always told me this, and I'm glad that I listened to it, but concentrate on that person. School is always going to be here. That doesn't mean take a year off and go be with your family or friend, whatever, because they really need you at the time. You can do both, but don't forget to really concentrate on that person, because you never know what's going to come your way or their way, and something could happen, and it's going to leave you with a lot of regrets. I thankfully, thank God, I don't have any regrets with the situation with my dad, because I always put my dad first before everything else. Come spring break time, my friends would always ask me, do you guys want to go take a trip somewhere? You know, they'd go to Florida or whatever. My priority, I know my dad's situation, my priority was always being there with my family, my friends. So if you guys ever run into a situation like that, just keep that in mind, because sometimes people really need you and you're going to need them back someday. With that, if you guys ever have any questions or if you need any advice about med school, nursing, pharmacy, I'm in contact with a lot of those kind of students that I could connect you or I can answer questions myself. I'm sure we'll have my email up on the website somewhere, so you can find it on there. And if you guys ever have anything that you guys need from me or any of the officers, feel free to contact us and let us know. And best of luck. Work hard, study hard. Who's saying that? Wiz Khalifa? Work hard, play hard, whatever. Best piece of advice that I've ever heard from a rapper. So use that. Thanks for your time today, guys, and I hope that you guys gain something out of this.